Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Mountain by developer David O'Reilly. This is very simply a mountain simulator. I know that's kind of a strange thing to say, isn't it? Because what do you really have to simulate about a mountain? It just kind of is what it is, and that's really the end of the story. But you know, on this channel I like to cover things that are a little bit outside of the norm, outside of the stuff that we usually traditionally expect from genres, I suppose. I like to kind of break down the concept of genres to even being, much of anything, although other times I kind of fall for the usual traps. But today's is very much one of those experience-type deals. It's not so much a game, it's more just a digital toy that we can play around with and see what we can see. So right now, what we're staring at is my own personally generated mountain. I mean, it's sort of like a mountain/island, because it's just hanging there in space. But it is very much mine and very much unique, and when I started up this experience, the first thing I was presented with was 3 different concepts. I only remember one of them said future, I don't remember what the other 2 said, but I was asked to draw a picture out of some fragmented lines, and then somehow that's going to relate to my experience later on, I believe. But for now, I'm not really sure how that factors in. I just know that I've got a mountain, and I know that it turns in space, and I know that if I scroll my mouse wheel, I can actually zoom in and out. And as we zoom out further, we'll find out that actually this mountain is contained in a tiny bubble hanging in the cosmos. As you can see, there's actually a couple little asteroids outside of there, and I wonder how far actually out we can get from our mountain. Maybe there's other mountains and other bubbles in other places amongst the stars. Well, if I get too far, we're going to end up in another realm, although the sound effects are actually changing, which I find rather titillating or something. It's just interesting to think that there's multiple environments here, even though we're very much attuned to this being about the mountain. So what is a mountain in the context of this experience? Well, it houses basically environmental changes from one way or another. We've got clouds, we've got snow, we've got night, we've got dark, dusk, dawn, all those D words. And we've also got some trees that seem to be living here, and we've got some plant life and rocks of various sorts. We can click and drag and cause the mountain to turn. We can zoom in and out like I showed you already, and this is about as close as we can get. I've also noticed during the night time, there's actually occasionally some fireflies that'll come and hang out with us on the certain mountainous zones by the forests, and they're very pretty. I'm just checking out to see if there's anything specifically interesting about the trees that we're presented with. There's a couple of trees here that seem to be in various states of like disintegration down in the bottom middle. It looks like those ones are about to phase out of reality, whereas some of the ones around it seem to be much more substantial trees. And right now everything is just kind of hanging in stasis. There's not really much going on. We can just sort of sit here and wait. This can be a passive experience, or if we choose to engage things a little bit more, we can actually go to town on the keyboard here, and the rows of ASD, FG, and ZXCVB, I believe B is the cutoff. No, N, J, and K? K and less than, actually, are the cutoffs. We've got 2 actual keyboards that we can play as we go through the keys here, and we can actually make our own little soundtrack to this game. And you'll notice, as I start to play, these little tinkly sounds go by, and there's actually a little thought popped up. I guess this is it. And time starts to speed up, and all of a sudden we move from just regular old day into night. We're actually causing time to pass faster by playing music, and I believe it actually just judges based on the tempo that you're playing, because as soon as I stop playing, well, now it's night, and it has slowed down quite a ways. So we can use this to jump through a bunch of days if we choose. So I'm going to play a little bit here, just a little fast rhythm to try and get us to move along and see maybe some different weather effects. Occasionally, oh, there's the fireflies I mentioned before. We might end up in a snowstorm, which would be lovely to look at. And if we could get a nice bright sunrise with clear skies, maybe you could see some cool God rays too. But what is a mountain really? Like, what is the concept behind this really? And part of the reason that I wanted to cover this is because I kind of have no idea what really is at the core of this experience. I really like going on these journeys where you don't even understand the concept of what it is that you're getting yourself into when you start it, and you just kind of learn a new set of rules as you play, or experience whatever the case may be. Oh, and it's snowing now, that's nice. And in this case, I think our experience is largely sort of that of a slightly interactive screensaver, and I know that sounds like a negative, but I don't mean it to be one. I just enjoy whatever the path takes us to. And let's see if we can scroll. I want to see if there's anything going on the bottom of the mountain, because we rarely seem to look down here. But it's interesting that there's these little poetic narratives that pop up occasionally that almost lead you to believe, like, this mountain might be sentient or something. It's giving us little parting thoughts as it exists in space. And I was thinking about, like, what is the point of a mountain? Why does it exist? What's the context of a mountain? And I mean, it's where Earth comes together and causes one peak to rise, right? So in this case, we're removed from all of that context. There's no surrounding landscape. The mountain is an island, which inherently, as far as geography goes, is a thing that can't really happen. So it's like taking something that is completely impossible and turning it into this new context, and then I guess you kind of start to feel like maybe this mountain might feel sorrow. So in a way, it's personalized a piece of land with absolutely no human characteristics. I mean, it doesn't pretend to be human. You just have these thoughts that might not even be attributed to the mountain itself. They're just popping up. They're probably coming from, you know, the air surrounding the mountain, or just directly from the developer breaking the fourth wall. Who knows? But in this case, it starts to have you feel emotions for a piece of ground, which is kind of an interesting way to think about things. At least that's how I feel. I mean, I can't really tell you guys what you feel by looking at this, but it is very picturesque and very idyllic. I would kind of like to see, like, what if people started showing up on this mountain and, like, lives were beginning and ending and civilizations were cropping up. But I guess that's kind of a different scale. That would take the emphasis off the mountain and put it on the people, right? But I guess it would be still giving the mountain more context. And in this case, I think we want to remove as much context as possible. It could also just be as simple as, hey, we want to create a thing that hasn't really been seen. There's actually bananas floating through space right now, it looks like. There they are. Not sure why that's happening. But sometimes, I guess, bananas just happen when mountains are around. I haven't seen that happen before. Oh, geez, what's this? I think the bananas just struck my mountain. Is this what's happening? Are they flying in from space? There's just creations just flying in from space to land on my mountain? Well, who knows where this could go? Maybe there's actually a time code thing going on with this game. And the longer you play it, sort of like an Animal Crossing thing, the more strange events and occurrences might happen. I was assuming that was very much largely the case due to the fact that it asked me to draw things at the beginning, because it gave me this sense of maybe there would be some chronology in that we'll be moving from one drawing to the next, and maybe the drawings were the seeds. I'm pondering this freezing morning. Alright, well now they're starting to make me think this is actually the mountain thinking things. I want to see the bananas more clearly, clouds. There's a sentence I've never said before in my entire life. But if you're wondering what this is for, you can actually pick up a copy of Mountain for Windows, Mac, Linux, or even iOS, and it only actually costs $1. So it's not like it's a super expensive experience to have, and it seems like the type of thing that, I don't know, it intrigues me enough that I would want to maybe just revisit this a bunch of times and see what different events might crop up, because, well, bananas are certainly unexpected, right? So what else could we expect from this? It also gives me a little bit of that Peter Molyneux black and white vibe, where, like, you also just don't really understand the context of what the gamification is in some cases. I mean, it was a little more direct in that case, but it also involved a lot of simulation in ways that you really wouldn't have thought about. And it's just neat to see, like, to go down this journey of, well, what was the developer thinking? What were their intentions? How does the art complement the concept? And in this case, it's just a fun, surreal kind of isolating, introspective experience as far as I can tell. But I'd be very curious to hear your opinions on this as well, because it's certainly something very outside of the box. And if you have any kind of opinions or structured thoughts, or unstructured thoughts for that matter, just free associate in my comment section. Feel free. It's all good. That's kind of the vibe that comes from this. Bored. Alright, well now you add this sort of minor element of levity that a mountain could be bored, and all of a sudden I find myself thinking about Katamari Damacy, because I just strive to come up with ways to make that reference in every single video that I do in the Indie Impression series. And I guess also because you actually, like, roll up entire chunks of mountains, so I guess that's the only other time that I've thought of mountains as, like, an isolated chunk of ground that can be removed from context. Anyway, I think that's about all I can really say right now for this one. We got to go through a couple of days here and at least saw some seasonal changes, so the light and the dark. And we saw some nice fireflies and stuff. So go check out Mountain if you find yourself intrigued by this. Like I said, it's only $1. I'll have a link if you'd like to go purchase it right in the description. You can head over and go support the developer. And of course, like I said, let me know what you think about this video. Leave some comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed it as well, because that really helps me out, because then more people can hopefully find out about cool creations like this. And feel free to come back again tomorrow, because new episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day without fail. We're very close to being over 850 consecutive episodes. So if that's a thing that you'd like to see continue on into the 1,000 mark, feel free to continue to support this series. I greatly, greatly appreciate you all being here and watching, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. So I'll talk to you all later.